The world did not expect it. Nobody was ready. One quiet evening, during a soft interview meant to celebrate Keanu Reeves' new film, something happened that no one saw coming. The interviewer asked a simple question, a gentle one, a harmless one. But Keanu's answer shook millions of hearts across the world. The interviewer smiled politely and said, "Is there someone you still think about? Someone from your past?" He asked it lightly, almost like a joke, expecting Keanu to laugh it off. But Keanu didn't laugh. Instead, he lowered his eyes for a moment. His chest rose slowly. His fingers curled with a quiet tension. And when he looked back up, there was something deep, something honest, something fragile shining behind his eyes. "Yes," he said softly. "Someone I still dream about sometimes." The room froze. The interviewer blinked, confused but curious. The camera zoomed in slightly because even the cameraman could feel that something emotional was about to unfold. "Who is she?" the interviewer asked gently. Keanu hesitated. His breath shook just a little. Then he whispered the name that made the entire internet break down in tears later that night. "Sandra," he said. "Sandra Bullock." The world stopped moving for a second. The interviewer was stunned. He leaned back, unsure if he heard correctly. But Keanu's face carried the truth, pure, calm, painful, and real. He was not joking. He was not playing with the moment. He was opening a part of his heart that he had kept silent for years. "I still dream of her sometimes," Keanu continued in a quiet voice. Not in a dramatic way, not in a romantic fantasy way. Just in a gentle, human way. Memories, small moments, things we shared that meant something to me. The interviewer swallowed hard, sensing the gravity of the moment. "Do you ever talk to her about this?" he asked carefully. Keanu shook his head with a sad smile. "No, some things, some feelings, they belong to the past, and I respect her life. She is happy. She has her own world, her own people. I would never disturb that." His honesty melted through the room. The lights seemed softer. The silence felt heavy but warm. It was the kind of moment people remember for the rest of their lives, because someone who rarely speaks about his heart just opened it completely. The interviewer leaned forward, as if drawn into Keanu's quiet truth. "What do you dream about?" he asked gently. Keanu looked away, thinking. Then he spoke slowly, choosing each word carefully. "I dream about her laugh," he said. "I dream about the way she made me feel calm, like I could breathe for a moment. I dream about moments when we talked about nothing, but everything at the same time, you know. The kind of moments you don't realize are important until they're gone." His voice cracked softly at the end. For someone like Keanu, who always carries himself with gentle strength, that small crack felt like a heartbreak unfolding quietly across the room. The interviewer whispered, "Do you miss her?" Keanu's eyes softened, and he nodded. "Yes," he said. "I miss the person she was to me. I miss the version of myself I was with her. She brought out light in me, during years when I didn't have much light." He inhaled deeply, holding back something more, something he had carried for a long time. "But I am grateful," he added. "She existed in my life. That alone is enough for me." The room was silent. Even the crew behind the cameras were emotional. Nobody wanted to breathe too loudly, afraid they might break the moment. But then, the interviewer felt he had to ask the question rising inside him. A question millions watching later would also ask. Double quotes Keanu. He whispered, "If life gave you one more chance with her, would you take it?" Keanu froze. His silence felt like a heartbeat pausing. And the world waited for his answer, not knowing that what he said next would change everything. Keanu did not answer right away. The question hung in the air like a fragile thread, stretching between the interviewer and him, between the present moment and all the memories he had locked inside. His eyes shifted slightly, searching for words that carried both honesty and respect. But his silence spoke louder than anything else. After a long moment, Keanu finally breathed out and whispered, "That is a very heavy question." The interviewer nodded softly, understanding the weight behind Keanu's hesitation. This wasn't a simple yes or no. This was a question connected to years of emotions, moments, regrets, hopes, and unspoken truths. Keanu looked down, his fingers rubbing together gently, the way people do when they're trying to calm their heart. Then he said, "I don't know if I would take that chance. Because life is not the same anymore." The interviewer leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Keanu lifted his eyes, and there it was again, that quiet sadness he always carried, but never explained. "We are changed people now," he said softly. "Time changes us. Pain changes us. Healing changes us. And Sandra, she has moved on. She has a life that makes her happy. She deserves stability, joy, peace. I would never risk disturbing that." The interviewer studied him carefully. "So would you step back even if your heart still remembers her?" Keanu smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "Love isn't always about getting what you want," he said gently. "Sometimes love is about respecting the other person's life, even if it means you stand outside their happiness." His words felt like poetry written in pain. "But," the interviewer whispered, "your dreams, they mean something." Keanu nodded. "They do. Dreams show you what your heart hasn't fully let go of. But dreams don't mean the universe wants to rewrite the past. Sometimes dreams are just reminders of beautiful moments you once had." The interviewer paused, then asked something even more personal. "Keanu, did you ever tell Sandra what you felt?" Keanu's face softened with a bittersweet tenderness. "No," he said, "and maybe that was one of my mistakes. But I was scared. Scared of ruining something so gentle. Scared of losing the friendship. Scared of opening a door I wasn't ready to walk through." He took a slow breath, as if reliving each old moment in his mind. "We were close," he continued. "Closer than people knew. She understood silence. She understood pain. She understood me. And I didn't know how to handle that. Sometimes when somebody sees you too clearly, you back away because it feels too real." The interviewer nodded, visibly moved. "Did she ever feel something too?" Keanu hesitated. A long, emotional pause filled the room. "I don't know," he said softly. "Maybe, maybe not. There were moments when I felt something between us. A spark, a connection, a warmth, but we never spoke about it. We let time decide. And time decided something else." His voice cracked slightly, and he blinked slowly, fighting back the tears he refused to let fall. "But I am grateful," he added softly. "Even if she never felt the same way, even if it was only me. She gave me moments that helped me survive very dark years of my life." The interviewer swallowed hard, feeling the raw truth in his words. Keanu looked away for a moment, whispering something almost too soft to hear. "I still think of her laugh," he said. "It comes back to me in dreams like light breaking through clouds." The interviewer sat completely still, unable to interrupt. But then something unexpected happened. Keanu's single quotes S phone, which he placed face down on the chair, lit up. A new message. He glanced at the screen, and everything inside him froze. His eyes widened just slightly, but enough for the interviewer to notice. "Is everything okay?" the interviewer asked gently. Keanu took a deep breath, staring at the message. "It's from someone I haven't heard from in a long time," he whispered. The interviewer leaned in, curious. "Who?" Keanu swallowed, his voice barely audible. "Sandra." Keanu stared at the glowing screen, his heart tightening in a way he had not felt in years. The world around him went blurry, the cameras, the lights, the quiet breathing of the crew. Everything faded as his eyes focused only on one thing: her name. Sandra. It felt unreal, almost like his mind was playing tricks on him. After all these years of silence, of distance, of unspoken emotions buried beneath life's changes. Why now? Why today? Why in the exact moment he had finally opened up about her? The interviewer watched him carefully, sensing the sudden shift in his mood. "Keanu, what does the message say?" Keanu didn't answer right away. His fingers trembled slightly as he turned the phone over and unlocked it. He took a slow breath, preparing himself for whatever waited on the screen. A part of him feared it. Another part of him hoped too strongly. "Finally," he whispered, "she sent just one line." The interviewer leaned in. "What did she say?" Keanu swallowed, his voice soft, almost breaking. "She wrote, 'I saw the interview clip you filmed yesterday. We need to talk.'" The interviewer blinked. "She watched it already?" Keanu nodded slowly. "Someone from the studio posted a short teaser earlier today. Just a small moment. Just me saying her name." His heart beat harder. He couldn't hide it. "Do you think she's upset?" The interviewer asked quietly. Keanu looked down, staring at the message again. I don't know, he whispered. That's what scares me. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the emotions wash through him. He wasn't afraid of her anger. He wasn't afraid of judgment. He was afraid of digging up something she might have buried long ago, something that could disturb her peace, the peace he respected so deeply. The interviewer spoke gently. Maybe she wants clarity. Maybe she wants to understand why you said her name. Keanu nodded, but his chest still felt heavy. She doesn't know, he said softly. She never knew what? The interviewer asked. Keanu took a long, slow breath, as if dragging memories out of a locked room in his mind. She never knew how deeply she helped me, he whispered. How much her kindness held me together during years when everything inside me was breaking. He paused, his throat tight, and she never knew how long I carried feelings I never said aloud. The interviewer felt the weight of those words. Maybe it's time, he said gently. Keanu smiled sadly. Time doesn't always fix things. Sometimes it just teaches you how to hide them. Just as he said that, his phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, longer. Keanu's single quote's breath caught as he opened it. He read silently, and his eyes widened. The interviewer watched him closely. Keanu, what is it? Keanu looked up, his voice shaking slightly. She wants to meet. Tonight. The interviewer blinked in shock. Tonight? Where? Keanu showed him the screen. She's asking if I can come to the same small cafe we used to visit years ago. The one we always called our quiet place. The interviewer exhaled deeply. This feels big. Keanu. Keanu nodded slowly, his heart thundering. Too big, he whispered. I haven't seen her there since we were different people. He looked away, his mind racing through memories. The late-night talks, the jokes, the shared silence, the easy comfort, the moments filled with meaning that neither of them dared to name. The interviewer leaned forward. Keanu, do you think she wants closure? Keanu hesitated. Maybe she wants me to stop bringing up the past. Or maybe she wants to tell me something important. I don't know. Are you scared? The interviewer asked softly. Keanu's single quote's lips parted, and for a moment he didn't speak. His eyes softened with emotion. I'm scared, he whispered. That seeing her again will bring back everything I tried so hard to let go. The interviewer nodded with understanding. Keanu looked back at the message. I have to go, he said quietly. The interviewer nodded. And when you see her, what will you say? Keanu stared at the screen, his heart heavy with truth. I don't know, he whispered. I guess I will let my heart speak after so many years of silence. He stood up, grabbed his coat, and walked toward the exit. But he didn't know that this meeting would change everything, not just for him, not just for Sandra, but for millions who would hear the truth afterward. The evening air felt colder than usual when Keanu stepped out of the studio. It wrapped around him like a quiet warning, a reminder that he was walking toward something he had avoided for years, something fragile, something unfinished, something that scared him more than anything else in his life. He walked slowly to his car, each step heavy with memories he had tried to bury. The world around him moved normally, cars passing, lights flickering, people talking on sidewalks, but inside his mind, everything felt still, frozen. He could hear only one voice, Sandra's voice, the voice he had dreamed about without meaning to. As he drove toward the old cafe, he kept thinking about the past, the laughter they shared, the deep talks, the comfortable silences that said more than words ever could. He remembered how easy it was to be around her, how safe, how gentle, and he remembered the moment he realized he cared for her more than he should have. He pushed that thought away quickly. Tonight wasn't about the past. Tonight was about whatever truth Sandra wanted to share, whatever she needed to say after seeing the interview clip. When he finally reached the cafe, he parked across the street and just sat there, staring at the warm lights glowing through the windows. It looked exactly the same as years ago. The small wooden tables, the soft yellow lamps, the quiet corner booth where they always sat, the place where they once talked about life like to people who understood each other deeply. Without trying, he whispered to himself, "Why does this feel like walking into a dream?" After a moment, he stepped out and approached the door, His heart pounded slowly, painfully, like it was warning him to be gentle with whatever he was about to face. When he opened the door, a soft bell rang, the same old bell, and there she was. Sandra sat in their old booth. Her hair was loose, her face bare, looking real and human and full of emotion. Her hands were wrapped around a warm cup, but her fingers trembled slightly. She looked up when she heard the bell, and when her eyes met his, something powerful moved between them. Not love, not longing, something deeper, something human, something truthful. Keanu approached slowly, unsure if he should smile, unsure if he should speak, unsure if he even deserved to interrupt her peace. But she gave a small, soft smile that told him to sit. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. Keanu nodded. "Of course. I wasn't sure if you wanted to see me after, everything." She looked down at her hands. "I did. That's why I messaged." Keanu waited, giving her space to lead the moment. She took a slow breath. "I watched the clip," she whispered. "I wasn't expecting to hear my name." Keanu lowered his eyes. "I didn't mean to make things complicated. It just came out." "I know," she said gently. "And that's why I needed to talk to you. Because your words, they brought back things I thought I had buried." Keanu looked up, his chest tightening. "Are you upset with me?" She shook her head quickly. "No, I'm not upset. I'm confused." He stayed silent, letting her speak. "When you said you still dream of me," she whispered, "it made me wonder if I ever meant more to you than you ever said." Keanu's breath halted. He wasn't prepared for her to be this direct, to open the door he had kept closed. "I didn't expect you to say that on camera," she continued softly. "But when I heard it, I felt something I haven't felt in a very long time." "What did you feel?" Keanu asked, his voice barely audible. She hesitated, her eyes glistening with something she tried to hide. "I felt the version of me that cared for you once," she whispered. The cafe grew silent. Too silent, almost unreal. Keanu's single quotes as heart shook. "Sandra, I never wanted to disturb your life." "You didn't," she said quickly. "But hearing you say all that made me realize something." Keanu swallowed. "What?" Sandra looked directly into his eyes, deep, honest, vulnerable. "I never truly closed the door," she whispered. "Not completely. I just learned to live with it." Keanu froze, his throat tightened, the room blurred. She wasn't done. "And hearing your voice speak about me like that, it brought back a question I never allowed myself to ask." Keanu leaned forward, heart trembling. "What question?" She breathed slowly, painfully, then said the words that shattered everything inside him. "Were we supposed to be more than we ever became?" Keanu didn't move. He couldn't. His heart felt like it stopped beating. And she whispered the final blow. "Because tonight, I don't know how to pretend I didn't feel something too." Keanu felt the world tilt for a moment when Sandra said she didn't know how to pretend. She never felt something too. It was like the air in the cafe thickened, holding every memory, every unspoken moment, every silent feeling they had buried under years of distance. He stared at her, unsure if he had heard correctly, unsure if his heart was strong enough to hear it again. "Sandra," he whispered, but his voice was barely a voice. It was more like a breath, a tremble. She looked down, ashamed of her own honesty. "I shouldn't have said that," she muttered. "It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to the life I built." But when I heard your words, something inside me shifted, something I kept locked away. Keanu shook his head gently. "No, please don't apologize for telling the truth. But truth is heavy. Truth is dangerous. Truth changes people." And they both felt that weight in the small cafe, where their younger selves once joked about silly things, without knowing how much they meant to each other. Sandra continued softly. "I moved on with my life. I grew, I healed, I became someone new. But there was always this small part of me that wondered what would have happened if you and I had talked openly, if we had not been afraid, if the timing wasn't broken." Her voice cracked. Keanu felt a painful warmth spread in his chest. "I wondered too," he whispered, "more times than I ever wanted to admit." Their eyes met, and in that moment, time folded around them. They were no longer two people sitting in a cafe years later. They were two souls staring into a mirror of the past, reliving seconds they never dared to explore. Sandra pulled herself together and asked softly, "Keanu, Why didn't you ever tell me what you felt?" He let out a long breath, rubbing his hands together as memories rose from the shadows of his mind. "I was scared," he admitted. "You were light. I was darkness. I didn't want to pull you into the storms I lived with. I didn't want to make you choose between friendship and something unknown. And I didn't believe I deserved someone like you." Sandra's eyes softened with deep sadness. "You were never darkness to me," she whispered. Keanu looked down, moved by her words, but unable to fully absorb them. "Back then," he continued, "I was surviving pain nobody saw. And you were a breath of life I didn't want to ruin. So instead of reaching for you, I stood back. I thought it was the right thing, and maybe it was," Sandra said gently. "But it doesn't erase what we felt." Keanu hesitated before asking, "So why reach out now?" Sandra took a slow sip of her drink, then placed the cup down with trembling fingers. "Because your interview made something clear. It made me realize we can't keep pretending we never mattered to each other. We can't carry unspoken things forever. I needed to see you. I needed to look at you and understand something." Keanu leaned forward. "Understand what?" She met his eyes with a depth that made him stop breathing. "If the part of me that cared for you still exists," she whispered, "or if it's just a memory I romanticized." Keanu felt his heartbeat echo through his body. "And?" he asked, voice trembling. Sandra looked away, her shoulders rising slowly as she breathed out a painful truth. "And when you walked into this cafe tonight, I felt something inside me move." Keanu froze. She wasn't finished. "I don't want to ruin your peace," she said softly, "and I don't want to ruin my life. But I need to be honest with myself too." He swallowed hard. "What are you trying to say?" Sandra breathed deeply, pushing through fear. "I am saying that seeing you tonight made me realize something I swore I would never admit again." Keanu leaned in, his voice shaking. "Sandra, please tell me." Her eyes glistened, full of emotion she couldn't hide anymore. "I realized," she whispered, "that the part of me that cared for you never really died. I just forced it to sleep." Keanu felt the words hit him like a quiet storm. But then she added something even heavier, something that shook him to the core. "And now that it woke up again, I don't know how to put it back." Keanu's chest tightened so sharply that he had to look away. Silence filled the cafe, thick and overwhelming. Sandra saw the pain on his face and said softly, "But there is something else I need to ask you. Something I am scared to know." Keanu looked up slowly, his heart trembling. "Ask me," he whispered. She took a breath, steadying herself. Then she asked the question that would change everything. "If time had been kinder to us, do you think we would have fallen in love?" Keanu's face went pale, his eyes softened, his lips parted, but no words came out, because he already knew the answer and it terrified him. Keanu sat frozen, her question echoing inside him like a soft thunder he couldn't escape. "If time had been kinder to us, do you think we would have fallen in love?" He felt the world shrink. The cafe disappeared. The past and present blended. All he could hear was his heartbeat and her voice. He tried to speak, but emotion pressed against his chest, refusing to let words escape. Sandra watched him carefully, afraid she had asked too much, afraid she had opened a wound he fought for years to keep closed. She whispered, "Keanu, you don't have to answer if it hurts." He shook his head slowly. "No," he said softly. "It doesn't hurt. It's just too real." He took a deep breath, the kind that comes before someone says something they never said before, something that changes the air around them. "Yes," he whispered. "I think we would have." Sandra's breath caught. She did not blink. She did not move. She simply absorbed the truth she had waited years to hear. Keanu continued, voice trembling with honesty. "I think we cared for each other more deeply than we ever admitted. I think we were close to something real, something beautiful, something strong. But life was different then. We were different." Sandra nodded slowly, tears forming again. "I always wondered if I imagined it," she said. "The connection, the spark, the moments where everything felt right." "You didn't imagine it," Keanu whispered. "I felt it too." For a moment, they just sat there, staring at each other through tears neither tried to hide. Two souls finally acknowledging a truth they had carried alone for years. But then Sandra wiped her cheek and spoke with a soft resolve. "Keanu, we can't rewrite the past. We can't destroy our present, and we can't chase a version of life that doesn't belong to us anymore. Keanu nodded, even though the acceptance hurt. I know, he said gently, and I don't want to take anything away from your life. You deserve peace, joy, stability. She smiled at him, sad, warm, honest. And you deserve healing. You deserve love that meets you exactly where you are, not where you once were. He lowered his eyes, feeling both grateful and heartbroken. Sandra reached across the table and placed her hand over his. Do you want to know something? Keanu looked up slowly. What? I'm glad we never tried back then, she whispered. Because we weren't ready. We would have hurt each other without meaning to. Keanu nodded, understanding her truth. We were too fragile. Yes, she said. But what we had, the bond, the kindness, the friendship, that was real. And it shaped me. And it shaped you. It wasn't a mistake. It was a blessing. Keanu felt tears gather, but he blinked them away gently. So what happens now? He asked softly. Sandra squeezed his hand. We let go of the what if, and we hold on to the respect, the gratitude, the part of our story that helped us grow. Keanu nodded, the tightness in his chest loosening for the first time in years. And we stay in each other's lives, not as a lost chance, but as something peaceful. She smiled warmly. Yes, something peaceful, something safe, something honest. Keanu returned her smile, soft, emotional, grateful. I can do that. Sandra stood up, and Keanu rose with her. They moved toward the door of the cafe like two people closing a chapter with love, not regret. Outside, the cool night air brushed against them. She stepped closer and hugged him slowly, deeply, with a familiarity that belonged to a past they honored, and a future they could now face without confusion. Keanu held her gently, not with longing, but with respect, with gratitude, with a quiet goodbye to the dreams that once lived inside him. When they pulled away, Sandra whispered, "Thank you for being a part of my story." Keanu touched her hand lightly. You have always been a part of mine. She smiled one last time and walked to her car. Keanu watched her leave, not with pain, but with peace. For the first time in years, he felt light, calm, hold on as he walked back toward his own car. He whispered to himself, soft and honest, sometimes the most beautiful love is the one that teaches you, not the one that stays. And he knew deep inside that this truth would stay with him forever.